All right, guys. Look, we got in. We got a chance to meet with the players, watch the tape. Still a lot of things that we got to get cleaned up, but I thought overall it was a good performance again in all three phases. So a lot of the things that I thought after the game, I thought held up. And now, really, honestly, our attention is totally focused on Dallas now. Once we got these corrections made, and we got to start, getting ready for those guys.
I think Dallas had something like 17 pressures or 17 QB hits or something yesterday. I mean, is that one of the most eye-opening things about that?
Well, I'll be quite honest with you. We're just now getting into, starting to look at that, and yet that doesn't shock me. I think they got a lot of talented players over there on defense, and I think Mike Zimmer is one of the better defensive minds in our league, and so they'll definitely be a challenge for us to have to deal with, really, in all three phases. I think they're going to be well coached in all three phases, offense, defense, and in the kicking game, and they got talented players over there. So this will be a great test for us.
How did your offensive line grade out on the film review, and specifically in the two positions where you acknowledged that they weren't set?
Yeah, look, I thought those guys played well. I mean, you got to look at everything in the totality of what we were able to do, and I said this, I think, after the game. When you run the ball like that, when you're able to be effective throwing the ball, and your quarterback doesn't get hit much, and you put points up on the board like that, I think you can't do that and have your offensive line not play well. And so I thought those guys played well, and yet we'll have a much stiffer test this weekend.
When you mentioned cleanup, were there glaring things? I guess the penalties would be one thing that was standing out. Were there glaring things that just kind of?
No, look, I mean, I thought the execution overall was pretty good, but in a game that plays out differently, in a tighter game, some of these mistakes, certainly could hurt you. I mean, we dropped coverage on a quarterback scramble one time and gave up a explosive play. We missed a couple opportunities, potentially for some big plays, offensively. We had a big return, on the opening kickoff that had a chance to be a really, really big play, and I felt like we left, a lot of yards on the table in the return game. So there's certainly a lot of things that we got to clean up. But in terms of just a first game out and from an execution standpoint, I felt like all three phases executed at a pretty high level.
Get us going with just some individuality on the offensive line. It seems like a lot of the big runs came from Tali moments of people. What do you think about him in his regular season?
Yeah, I thought his first regular season game was pretty good, and there's still, there were still too many negative plays that we've got to get corrected, and I think we will. I think the key for us is, that race to improve from week 1 to week 2, and it has to be in all areas, and so I think that's what our focus is going to be.
What's it about the way that you guys are able to create rushes before, like, Kamara averaged like 2.6 yards before you got touched, like the way that you guys are able to create lanes?
Well, I mean, I think, Clint, Rico, JB, Jari, all those guys that are involved in Clancy, all those guys that are involved in the running game and coming up with a good plan. I think they do a really good job of that. I think, our guys did a great job of targeting in the run game. I think that was probably one of the better things that we did. We got on the right people, and I think that's part of it. and they've got some different defensive structures that can make that challenging at times. And so, and then I thought, we did a good job of kind of reestablishing the line of scrimmage up front. I thought we were able to get some movement on the line of scrimmage, create space in the defense, and the enemy, a great run defense, is space. And so, we're trying to create as much of it as we can offensively, and we're trying to eliminate as much of it as we can defensively.
Ernest spoke pretty passionately yesterday about his desire to be on the field and performing. I'm just curious, what does it say to you as his coach that there was all this contract stuff going on that didn't get resolved before week 1, but didn't hold out, he's still out there?
You're talking about Alvin? Okay, yeah. Look, Alvin's been outstanding. I mean, he showed up, came to work every day. He's been a real pro about, handling his business. And look, we know that contracts are part of, what we deal with in the NFL. And I think, he's kind of put that to the side and just focused on the things that he can control. And that's how he goes out and plays the game, and so he's been great. I thought he was awesome in the game. Thought he ran the ball hard. Thought he ran the ball effectively. Ran the plays the way they were designed to be run, and I think he benefited from that. So yeah, I think that was good to see. I think we saw that, Alvin, he's still got the ability to be a really good player for us.
What kind of example or maybe message do you hope that sets for maybe younger guys in the room and things like that, he didn't complicate the situation with holdouts and all?
Yeah, look, I mean, and I think all situations are different, I mean, it's hard to put them all in one bucket and say this is how these things are handled, but, yeah, I mean, I look, at some point, you gotta go play, and so, he decided when he got here that he was gonna practice and he was gonna play, and, I'm glad he did. It's been good.
Yes, I think the one player we probably didn't ask too much about was Blake, who's the first kick of the season, 57-yarder, and then he goes deep for the day. What do you think about his improvement from year 1 to year 2 in the early season?
Well, it's one game, all right, so, but I thought he kicked the ball outstanding all throughout camp. And I think, coming out in the first game and your first kick is a 57-yarder, and he knocked it through with plenty to spare, and then came back and had another 52-yarder, and then was, on all the extra points. I mean, I don't know if you can kick it any more down the middle of the uprights in those situations. So I thought he kicked the ball great. I thought he was really good on kickoffs, putting the ball basically where we wanted it to be put. So I was pleased with, what he showed us in week 1, and, anticipating and expecting that continue.
How much more confident are you now to do that? Because how often would it have been last year to let him go out and let his first kick be a 57-yarder?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I felt good about him going out and kicking it. And so, yeah, I don't know if it would have been different last year or not. But I certainly felt good about putting him out there and letting him kick it through this year.
Given like the weather situation, you've been through this a lot, but knowing there's a storm in the Gulf, you need to talk to young players, does it change your preparation this week, or is it just kind of?
Yeah, well, I think like everybody else in the city, we're monitoring it, and we'll make plans accordingly. I think we're going to meet again this afternoon and see what kind of plans we need to make, and then we'll kind of go from there. But I think we probably do this better than anybody else in the National Football League, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, you only got to see your arm one time, which is a good thing. What do you think about his one last?
Well, you had two. You had one going in. That's all right. But Look, here's what I'll say. I was glad he got into the game. I'm glad he got a couple of kicks in. I don't think it was his best performance, obviously. But to get into a regular season game, get a couple kicks in, and then, I expect that he'll be much better going forward.
Does having to wait until 4 minutes and 40 seconds or whatever it was in the game?
Well, I've never punted, so, but I would assume that's probably not the easiest thing to do, I mean, you're standing around a lot and so, yeah, I'm sure that's a challenge, and yet nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like, you got to go do your job, and so some things are harder than others.
Have you seen the team just handle the big win week one, like they come in today, the right mindset?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's one of 17, and so we hadn't accomplished anything. So let's just put our head down, focus. The same thing that we did to get ready for Carolina in terms of our preparation, mentally, physically, emotionally. Put our head down and go to work, and that's.
You've seen the team do that? They not get too high after.
Yeah, I mean, again, look, the honest to God's truth is, okay, and I told the team this today, there's a lot of people outside the building that didn't think we were, capable of doing much. Those same people are probably saying a lot of great things about you today, that were saying a lot of negative things about you, before yesterday's game. So we try not to pay much attention to that. We try to just focus on what our job is, what we need to do, and how we can get better. And we know that we're going to have a extremely tough challenge this Sunday going up to Dallas.
Check out all right with Marshawn?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a hamstring that he's dealing with. Don't know what the significance is going to be of that. We'll go through the week and evaluate him and see what we do.
And Lucas Patrick?
Yeah.
With Tyrann Matthew, the snaps were even a little lower before you kind of pulled everyone. What did you see? What did you like?
He was dealing with a little bit of a heel deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was more injury.
Yeah. Same kind of heel situation he dealt with a little bit last year. And I think at that time in the game, he came out after halftime and it was bothering him a little bit. And so we just decided to kind of hold back on him.
Did you like the way Jordan Howard played though?
I thought he did some good things, I'd still like to see him play a little bit more physical at times. But I thought the interception was a great play. His communication was good, in the back end. We were on point with executing our assignments back there, so that was all positive stuff. I think this is a young kid that I think is still growing, and I think he's going to continue to get better.
How was Will Harris's communication on the field stood out to you since he's been here?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I think, when you have him and Tyrann back there, you got two veteran guys back there that have played a lot of ball. And so I think his communication's been good. His understanding of the defense is continuing to get better. And so I think he'll, as he gets more and more play time, I think he'll improve as the season goes along. Okay, guys, thanks.